Hello everyone and welcome back to Dees Nerds. I'm Michelle.
I'm Chris.
And we are doing What Are We Watching? Volume
5.
Alright, so it's been a while since we did one of these, but before we get into it, we want to remind you, if you like this video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and also don't forget to ring that bell to get notifications whenever we post a video. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook if you want more content. We shared photos of different things that we're doing, what we're working on, and things that might be coming soon. So with that, let's get into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a while, and we have a lot to go through. We've been quite busy on the movie watching front.
We have.
So, yeah, excited to kind of dig in. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Okay.
All right, so these are favorites of mine from way back. So we watched the first one, I think, in our last round of What Are We Watching? But Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. I forgot, actually, how well those stories went together. I'll just say that. But I really enjoy these. They're old favorites.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really love those movies, too. The first 3 of those movies are just... It's a great trilogy. So, all right. So one we watched in my pile is one of my top 5 favorites of all time. Batman Begins from the Dark Knight trilogy. I think it's the quintessential Batman origin story, and great performances from Christian Bale as Batman and Bruce Wayne, Michael Caine as Alfred, Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul, Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, or well, actually Lieutenant Gordon in this one. Yeah, great movie. Love it to bits.
I'm going to show my next 2 together because I feel like they both kind of go together. So I was in a literary mood with my book nerd shirt, and we watched Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice, both of which I love. Totally different movies, and even though a lot of people I think lump them in the same category, but this is my super favorite. But I do love this edition of Pride and Prejudice too.
Absolutely. And so on my end, we watched The Bourne Identity and The Bourne Supremacy. And we're currently working our way through the Bourne franchise right now. I mean, Matt Damon is just kicking butt all the way through.
They're so brutal. I forget sometimes how brutal they are.
And, they're just great. And to me, they kind of rewrote the action movie kind of in the early 2000s. So, great movies. Love them to death.
Next up, we have Beverly Hills Cop. We're still working our way through this trilogy, so we watched the second one recently. Such a fun one, and nothing more to say. These are classics.
Yeah, someone commented on that one, said on one of the things we posted on Facebook, and said that that they believe that actually the second one is better than the first, and I can't really disagree with it. No, I don't know if I agree with it, but I can't disagree with it. It's a really good film.
They both have their merits.
Absolutely. So we also went back into the Stephen King canon of films and watched the made-for-TV miniseries of It, with Tim Curry as Pennywise. Definitely love the modern remake of this a little bit better. It's not a remake, it's just doing off the original story. But definitely like the ones that came out in the last couple of years a lot better. But it's got Tim Curry in a wonderful performance there, and it's very watchable.
Yeah, I think what wins the newer ones over much more than this one is the interactions between the kids. You don't get nearly as much time with the kids in this one.
Absolutely.
In the same Stephen King thing, we watched Dr. Sleep for the first time, so look for a specific review video on that because we were floored, so be on the lookout. Yeah,
I was really amazed at how awesome it is and completely ties in so well to The Shining, and yeah, loved it too. And then we also went back to the DC animated movie universe, and we watched Batman Bad Blood and Justice League vs. Teen Titans. These movies to me are great fun, and they're very consistently good, and love these 2 very much. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was not super crazy about Bad Blood. That was the one I was not as crazy about, wasn't it? And then I really liked Teen Titans. Or maybe I did like that one. And I'm not remembering.
I think it was the one before Batman versus Robin that you really were a fan
that
of.
was what it was. It was Batman versus Robin. Yeah, these were both really good. Damian is just such a turd.
He is. He is a turd, very much so.
Next one up is Adventures in Babysitting. This is a movie I grew up on, and we finally got it on Blu-ray, so I was super duper pumped. But it's Elizabeth Shue, and I think her first big role, actually. But it's so hilarious, and it's a crazy adventure movie with a bunch of kids, and it definitely fits in with the Goonies and stuff like that, I think, pretty well.
And I mean, I gotta give a big shout out. I'm a huge blues fan, and having Albert Collins
And the music in that movie in general is really good.
I mean, Albert Collins' cameo in that. I mean, if you only know him as being the, you can't leave without seeing the blues guy, look up his discography. He's one of the great blues guitarists of all time. Just great stuff throughout. Very consistent career. One of my favorite blues guitarists. Just primo stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put a card up here to a link to one of his videos that you can go check out. Just, I mean, gosh, he influenced Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, you name it. He's one of those very influential guitar players. So, on my end, we went into Western territory, and we watched the classic, and I say classic in all capital letters, Tombstone. Come on, right? I mean, Tombstone. I mean, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, the guy who plays John Connor in Terminator, Michael Bain. I mean, good Lord. I mean, just the cast is wonderful, great action, and it's just, gosh, it's like the great Western of the last 30 years.
It's really good. It's not generally like my thing, but it is enjoyable, and I don't mind watching it when he wants to watch it. So
Absolutely.
Next up, we have the Rush Hour trilogy. We did finish this one out. This is another group of movies that I kind of grew up with a little bit, and while I still enjoy them and think they're a lot of fun, there's some things in these movies that you just can't say anymore. I mean, you probably couldn't say it then either, but I mean, really now it would not be at all acceptable even in this context. So
I think someone would be getting, what's the term, canceled?
Yeah.
That probably would happen now. So, on my end, we finished out the Robocop trilogy by watching 2 and 3. 2, I think it's really underrated in comparison to the first one. First one is the best and is the classic of the bunch. But, the second one definitely holds its own. And the third one, it's watchable. It's definitely going downhill, though, by that point. And I think it's also hurt by its PG-13 rating as opposed to R.
The third one just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
The kid being in charge of people was just not at all believable to me.
Oh, with the second one?
Yeah. No, that was the third one. Or was that the second one?
Yeah, the second one with, like, the really,
Jerk
not
kid.
nice kid.
Yeah, okay. I guess I don't know. I wasn't crazy about either one of those. I really enjoyed the first one, but I don't know. I didn't much care for the sequels.
Yeah.
Next up is Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. I feel like we've watched the first one of these a lot, and so it was good to go and see the second one again. Although I do think I still like the first one better. This is a good addition, and I really hope they come back and do another one because they left it in such a good spot.
I think they're supposed to, from what I've heard, but Moriarty. I mean, the back and forth between him and Holmes. I mean, it's classic. Moriarty is the Joker to Sherlock Holmes' Batman, and it was a great movie. Loved it.
Here's.
Oh yeah, sorry. I love Game of Shadows so much that I thought it might as well be mine, right? So this one we watched. This is a classic one. This is Forbidden Planet, starring Leslie Nielsen, who you might know from The Naked Gun, different things like that. It is a slow-moving film. I think modern audiences, it definitely moves slower than what you're probably used to. But I also have to give it a lot of props. I mean, it was one of the first great sci-fi movies. And, there's a lot of things I can see that influenced a lot of other films later on. So, I have to give it a lot of respect, and very glad to have said that I watched it, because I think I watched it a long, long time ago when I was a kid and just didn't remember very much of it. But, I thought it was very good when you consider kind of it in the historical context.
So on my end, I've been in a J-Law kick. I love Jennifer
hard
Lawrence.
J-Law kick.
Yes. So I bought several movies that we didn't own, and we watched a couple of new ones, and then also some old favorites. So one of those was Winter's Bone, and this is based off a book, which the book is also excellent. I'm really glad that they didn't do everything in the movie that they did in the book. Otherwise, I don't think I could have watched it. But it's a really good movie, especially for people who live in the Ozarks like we do, because that's where it takes place. And honestly, it's just disturbing because you feel like you know people or have known people or seen people that would live this crazy life that they're in.
I think the thing I always say is in certain people's houses and whatnot, I think I've been in houses exactly like that around here. That feeling, you can almost smell it.
it's like old, outdated, kind of run down, but not like a super old house, just like, I don't know, those 70s, 80s era ones that just didn't.
And, a bunch of junk and stuff on the kitchen counters,
well.
and just a lot of clutter, and just like I
and
said,
wood
that
paneling
smell
on the walls.
It's like musty and almost like cat pee, and I can smell it, and it's kind of it's pretty disturbing.
Anyway, like pretty much everybody in this movie is on drugs, so I mean it's nuts.
Meth's a heck of a drug, right?
Do you want me to go through the rest of the J-Law?
Yeah,
ones?
sure.
Okay,
yeah.
So continuing on the J-Law thing, we watched this one, Red Sparrow, without really knowing a whole heck of a lot going in, other than it was J-Law, and holy smokes, we didn't know what we were getting into. There will also be a review video coming on this one specifically because we were stunned about a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that all I'll say is this: we're both big fans of Jennifer Lawrence. If you're a fan of Jennifer Lawrence, you get to see a lot of Jennifer Lawrence in this. So, but it's a great kind of spy thriller kind of.
It is, and it's one of those that you kind of don't know which way things are going until the very end of the movie.
Absolutely.
And the last one in the pile, we just finished watching actually about an hour or two ago, Passengers, which I know is one that was kind of divisive, I think.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed it, and I'm a sucker for space movies, so space plus Jennifer Lawrence plus Chris Pratt was a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, great movie. Love it. Can't say enough good things about it. So this one, actually these two are kind of music movies, so I'll just kind of do these back to back. And I know neither one of these you were real crazy about. Actually, yeah, we do have three there, so 3 music-based movies. So this is Spinal Tap, is what we watched. I love this film. It is so dry, and especially, if you've been in bands and played shows before, I think this really hits home quite a bit sometimes. But I thought this was really good. I know you thought it was just too dry.
I think I lacked the personal context and connection to the situations that they were in that you have, because to me I was just like, I don't get why this is supposed to be funny.
Yeah. But I mean, I love this movie to bits. And also likewise with the sequel to the Blues Brothers 2000. I know this movie tanked when it was released. Really, honestly, I think I'm just going to be controversial here. I think it holds its own to the first one. I know that's probably sacrilegious. The music is just as good as in the first one. The comedy is right there. And I think that they did a somewhat decent job of replacing John Belushi, as difficult as that was. I think with John Goodman and Joe Morton and the kid, I forget the kid's name, but I mean, I thought they did a decent job with it. I really love this movie. I really enjoy watching it. And I know you were kind of mad about it.
But I'm kind of mad about the first one too. So.
Yeah. So, and then when we also watched today, Cadillac Records, kind of the story of Chess Records, or as I like to say, a very let's just say they're very loose with the facts.
They take some liberties.
And they definitely take some liberties with it. But what they do right, the casting of these music legends, they nailed. Their performances, they nailed. And the music, they nailed. So that's why I enjoy coming back to this movie. Again, huge blues fan. Getting to see Jeffrey Wright's performance as Muddy Waters, Little Walter being in this film, Howlin' Wolf, Chuck Berry, Etta James, Beyonce gives a powerhouse performance in this. I mean, she's an amazing actress, actually. And it was great to get to see that story, even though it's very loose with the facts on how it happened, but to actually see them up on the screen doing this, I mean, it just did my heart a lot of good to watch it. I like going back to it. So what were your thoughts on it?
I think it's a good movie, but I will say watching it with someone who has a lot of background knowledge on it, to me, makes it a lot more interesting. I don't know if I just sat down and watched that movie, if I would have found it interesting without being able to talk to you about it while we watched. So
absolutely,
just from a kind of a layman's perspective. Next up is the DaVinci Code. And I know this is one that didn't do super well in the theater because people just thought it kind of failed at doing what it was supposed to do. And I actually agree with that, because in the theatrical version, it leaves out so much stuff that if you didn't read the book, and I had, but the person I was with hadn't, there's like, huh? What's going on? But the director's cut, or extended cut rather, is like 3 hours long, and it adds a lot of stuff back to it, and I think it makes the story make far more sense. So if you have never watched the extended cut but you liked the book, you might appreciate this more.
I think if we ever do a movie about or do a video about films that greatly benefited in their director's cut versus their theatrical cut. I mean, it's this one, it's Batman v Superman. There's a whole host of other ones that we can talk about, but this one's definitely in that one. It's in this form, it's a fantastic film, and really love that film. So this one here is just one of our newer favorites, but I mean, Shazam! Come on! I mean, great superhero film. Zachary Levi just kills it. I mean, you know, it does kind of drag a little bit when it's trying to set everything up, but boy, once he kicks in as Shazam, the movie comes to life, and it's such a fun, lovable movie.
I've had the whole lightning with my hands thing stuck in my head for like several days.
Lightning with my hands.
Keeping up with the superhero thing, we rewatched The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. And I know these weren't the most popular of the Spider-Man movies, but I really liked it, and I loved Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. She was so adorable in that role.
Yeah, I remember when this came out, I was very much hardcore Tobey Maguire, those first 3 films, loved them to death, and really was skeptical going into this movie, and was actually shocked at how much I really liked this film. I think Andrew Garfield doesn't get near enough credit for actually being a really good Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And kind of going, again, on the superhero kick, we kind of like superhero films here at Dees Nerds. We watched Hellboy. Now, this one's a little bit divisive amongst us. This is one that I think is just an absolute underrated classic, and love it to pieces. Wish that it had gotten more credit, so we could have gotten more than just 2 movies out of this franchise. I know they did a remake here a year or so ago. Really didn't care to watch it because Ron Perlman is Hellboy as far as I'm concerned. But I know you weren't a big fan of this one.
I don't get it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, so it's all good though. We're cool. So.
I felt like I spent that whole movie waiting for Selma Blair to do anything, and then she has like one moment where she does something really cool, and I was like, well, that was it.
It is what it is.
Next is another one that's based off a book, which I actually haven't read yet, but I was so interested in it and was curious to go ahead and watch the movie. So Ready Player One, which is based off a book by Ernest Cline. I definitely want to read it now that I've seen it, because we really enjoyed this one. And it's funny because I feel like most of the time when you call a movie a CGI fest that actually involves real people, that's a bad thing. But in this case, it makes sense because most of the movie he's spent in virtual reality in this huge game. So it was really, really fun, and I thought the performances were great, and there's some interesting twists, and it was just a good movie.
Yeah, we had a friend of mine comment on our Facebook page that this film, that we really need to read the book on it because it's apparently really amazing. So,
and we do own it. So.
And we do own it. We're planning to read it here soon. So Bailey, I got you, man. We're gonna get you taken care of there. So, our last film, or on my stack anyway, is one that I wasn't sure how you'd feel about, but one that I have loved ever since I was a little kid. And again, you know, it's kind of a weird movie to say for being a little kid, but Swamp Thing. You know, the Wes Craven directed classic from the early 80s. You know, it has a lot of limitations. You know, if you go into the backstory on it, it was like, as they kept making the movie, their budget kept getting cut more and more and more. So it's just the genius of Wes Craven to figure out a way to turn this into a good movie, and it is a spectacular movie as far as I'm concerned. I really love this movie a lot, and I was really didn't know how you'd respond to it, but you ended up really liking it.
Yeah, I really liked it. Despite the unfortunate costuming in some spots, the story really saves it. I mean, and I think the acting is pretty well done, and you do get into it. You just kind of have to overlook that Swamp Thing's costume is kind of yikes.
Yeah,
but
and you know, I do have it in my wish list to eventually get the DC Universe series that criminally apparently only lasted 1 season due to some budget reasons, but I've heard really good things about it. It's definitely on my wish list to get to. Absolutely.
All right, and the final 2 are another favorite franchise of mine, Mission Impossible. So we watched Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Mission Impossible Fallout, the famous mustache.
Mustache Gate. Henry Cavill's mustache.
But I absolutely love these, and we were consistently stunned every time we watched through these that they just seem to keep getting better with every movie. We feel like everyone is just as good as the last, if not better. So I have nothing else to say. We just enjoy them a lot.
Yeah, first one's good. Second one's still okay, but it's not as good as the first. Then the third one's really good, and it just keeps getting better. Like I remember when we watched the fourth, like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite one so far. And the fifth one's like, oh my gosh, I think that was better than that one. And then the sixth one, this one's better than this one. How does Tom Cruise and company do it.
And how is Tom Cruise like not aging?
Yeah,
How is he still running everywhere?
There must be something in that Scientology or something. I don't know.
Guess.
But, I don't know. But yeah. So hey, we're caught up. That was a big list to get through. But that's what we've been watching here since our last What Are We Watching video. And let us know in the comments what you've been watching, because we want to hear that. Maybe give us some recommendations on what to watch next. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing here at Dees Nerds, and also ring that bell icon so you know when those videos are coming out. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, we are also on Facebook and Instagram, so please feel free to follow us there, because we're posting stuff daily, different content that we post there, so please follow us there. And that's it for us. Until next time, I'm Chris.
I'm Michelle.
And we are Dees Nerds, and you guys have a great, safe rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.